favorite group of roses. We've been to every garden center on the Cape shopping for roses for our customers. And Snow's has the biggest selection of English roses. You'll see them in the green square pots. Just look at these blooms. There are hundreds of varieties, beautiful blooms. They're called heavily petaled. The hybrid tea has about 40 to 50 petals. Some of these have over 100. One of them has about 200 petals. It gives you that really old-fashioned look. The bloom is very different from your florist rose.
Colette say Colette is
similar.
It was part of a series called the Romantic
Yes,
series.
Star Roses tried to copy David Austin.
the
Came out
Austin
with Romantica series. Eden, which is a great climbing rose. Colette, which is we just planted 4 Colettes at a client. So it's similar. But if you look through these catalogs, very different from a hybrid tea. They're all heavily fragrant. They bloom over and over again. Now, how did he do it? He took the old damasks and bourbons and gallicas, the stuff you don't find in garden centers anymore. They all looked like this. They were all fragrant, but they were all pink, white, and red. So he took some apricot, peach, and yellow floribundas and crossed them with the old gallicas and the old damasks, and he got these roses. They bloom over and over again. I think we have about 60 varieties at home in our garden, and they're definitely our favorite group of roses. Great scent. Now, hybrid teas, upright, floribundas, more or less upright. David Austin roses cascade out. The canes form arches. Some of them are small, 3x3. Some are 4x4, that's tall and wide. Some of them are 10 foot tall. Heritage, 10 foot tall and wide. Abraham Darby, 8 foot tall and wide. Nice big plants.
Are they tricky to grow?
No, they're not. They are grafted, so you got to bury the knot.
But they were actually bred for colder climates, so they're pretty hardy for this area. Yeah.
Here's the graft. Here's your little Dr. Huey thing, a little long. Usually they cut them short. They're great for Cape Cod, and they bloom all season, over and over again.
We were at a rose convention a few years ago down south, and we were on some garden tours, and I was saying, where are all the Austins? Nobody grows Austins down here. And the guy says to me, he goes, we can't, it's too hot down here. They like it cold.
And you would deadhead those?
Oh, you deadhead all roses, except the only roses you don't deadhead, the fairy and roses like them. Shrub roses with tiny flowers. The carpet roses, Medulin roses, and they have a lot of Medulin roses here. You don't really have to deadhead those. The blooms are tiny, the petals fall off, they do not form hips. That's one of the reasons to deadhead. I'll explain that. They don't form hips, and the new growth just covers where the old blooms were, and they bloom again. So you don't have to deadhead the roses with thousands of little blooms on them.
Now,
it's mainly the large bloom roses.
A lot of places will tell you you don't have to deadhead the knockouts.
That's not true.
You'll be happy. You don't have to, but you'll be happier if you do.
The what one?
Knockouts.
The knockouts.
And
I mean, they will bloom if you repeat bloom if you don't deadhead, but not as much as if you do, and it looks kind of ugly if you do.
Why don't we get these off the table and get some knockouts up here? And I'll talk to you about why we deadhead again. Okay, deadheading. You have, let's say, peace, and it starts to look old and brown, and the petals start to fall off. If you did not deadhead that, the rose hip, which is the seed pod, starts to grow. That's what's left when the petal falls off. We call it a rose hip. And if you don't spray your roses, they're edible, they have vitamin C. You can buy vitamins with rose hips in it, and that's from rose hips, not if you spray or pour chemicals on the ground. Once that seed pod forms, that cane is finished for the season. The only reason why roses bloom, it doesn't bloom to make us happy. It blooms to attract bees to cross-pollinate so it can make seeds. All plants do that. They're only trying to make their own seeds to keep the species growing. Eventually, every cane on the bush will have rose hips, and you won't be blooming past July. If you deadhead all season, every cane has to start all over again to make the bloom, to make the seed pod. So you're kind of tricking it into blooming over and over again by cutting off the seed pod before it matures into a rose hip. So that's why we deadhead. Stop deadheading October, because now you want the hips to grow, you want the roses to slow down and become dormant for the winter. So beginning mid-October we stop deadheading.
Now